Okay. I'm really, the original kind of impulse I had for making this video is past, emotionally speaking, anyway. I've been laying low off Facebook for a while, just because it hasn't really been anything happening that I care to put my attention on all that heavily. It's just because I got other stuff I need to do, and I had a bunch of other things I wanted to focus on, music more like. Anyway, so I've been teasing, at least on some places online in my online presence, that I've had a spiritual awakening that had basically started really in full 4 years ago, and I have deliberately avoided explaining what that was because it's strange, and this is the challenge I have to explain something to people, given that I know what their current frame of reference is. So, okay, I went to school for communication studies at Master of Humanities program. It was the first year they had offered that program. I started in 2001. And I also later went to school for the Mohawk College Business Marketing Program, a 2-year program, and I learned marketing there. And then I went into search engine optimization. I worked in search engine optimization for 5 years, both at an agency and both at a big corporation. Anyway, while I was at that job, that I had my spiritual awakening. It came about because I had undergone a process of emotional healing over several years leading up to that, which included the dissolution of my marriage. And so it was in 2016 that I moved back home. And this happened, it was on the night of January 11th, 2016, which was actually a Monday. But it was the Sunday night, and it was just after midnight on Monday morning, January 11th, 2016. And I had just gone to bed, and I hear one of our cats wailing. And it's not uncommon for a cat in our house to be lonely in the middle of the night and start meowing because it wants somebody to come out and pet it. I think we had 4 cats in the house at that time. And so this one wasn't that, it was like a distress call. We had a cat when I was young, and we used to give her baths, and she would moan and wail, and it was just like, oh, real, like this was a cat in seriously unhappy and seriously distressed. And so it had that emotional tenor to it. It was a cry for help. And so I got up, I walked down the hallway to the center stairwell in our house, and I'm looking around for the cat, and I see it down on the steps. I look down the stairs, and I see on the steps our cat Libu is down there, and he's cowering. He's like trembling, cowering in fear, and looking up at the ceiling above him. And I looked up and I looked up in the direction of where he was looking, just like across into the space above the stairwell. And there's something there, and it's like, if I were to describe what it looked like, I couldn't really even see anything except sensing that there's kind of like an outline of something there, like I was seeing something clear, and I would describe it now as clear light. But what I felt was all the hair in my body stand up immediately in this insane chill. It was just, it's a chill kind of like I could never experience before, because it was like a chill that was coming from that there, and that's the thing. And then I could feel it moving towards me, and move towards me, and basically kind of enter into me. So that, I freaked out, ran back to bed. I honestly don't know how I got back to sleep after that. I don't remember that part. It's strange. All I know was that I did not lie awake that night. I actually went to sleep. Okay. This is funny. The thing was, because in some of the spiritual practices I learned sort of leading up to that, what I'd actually done is I did a tapping exercise, tapping. And I'm not, the air quotes, just for the benefit of the people in the audience who hear that kind of thing. And think air quotes when they hear a term like tapping, because it's a phrase they don't know. If you refer to something somebody doesn't know, well, they have to fill it in using their experience, and they're going to use their baseline knowledge of what they actually perceive is the things. We have Michael Shermer describes it well as belief-dependent reality. It's like we filter everything through the stories we've learned over the years and our experiences. So that's why I'll put air quotes around tapping, because it is one of those terms. It's an esoteric type term, which has meaning to a particular community. So what I had done was I did this tapping exercise because I learned this. It's like, oh, if there's a spirit and you don't want it in you, like, you tap and ask it to leave. And so I did. And so, well, I didn't really feel anything, so I figured, okay, that must have worked well enough, but Jesus Christ, I was freaked. So, but satisfied, and I fell asleep, so it must have been okay. And I went to work the next day. All day the next day at work, I'm thinking, Jesus, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I went on with my day. There's always stuff to do, so it wasn't like I was just sitting around daydreaming. But it's not like you forget a thing like that, because it was freaky. But the next night, I was thinking, well, one of the things I had heard in some of the reading, some of the other materials I'd come across, and I got into spirituality because I'd been through 12 steps. So one of the components of 12 steps is you develop a sense of spirituality, so you can cope with things better. Basically, those addictions, like, you got like a spiritual bankruptcy, and that's why you're trying to fill in the hole with an addiction. Oh, Jesus Christ. You did it. So anyway, basically, one of the things I'd heard in my spiritual explorations, just because I had approached spirituality as a concept, because that's what made sense for me, as an action you do, a thing you do to try to make yourself feel better about things. And it's a different kind of understanding of things than if you're trying to understand something scientifically. If your view of reality is we must objectively just match up one-to-one what our description is with the physical stuff we see. So one of the things I'd heard was basically, it's like, well, if it's all like that, the spiritual realm is like, if that in the spiritual realm you feel like that's where the divine selves are. That's where if that's what divinity is simply when you're outside of your human body, like after you die or before you're born, it's simply a matter of being with divinity. Well, what's the worst that could happen if I invited this thing back? If I set my intention to just think, well, whatever it was that came to me the other night, you're welcome to show yourself again. I welcome you back. It was that kind of feeling, that kind of intention. So I was wondering, could I intend that and it would happen? And it did. So that was 4 years ago. That was that was the evening of January 11, 2016. And it's been an interesting ride since. There's been a lot of things that happened to me. I've also acted very strangely. That happens. There's a lot I can explain. The nature of my gift is a little different than that which I've seen in other people who have this kind of gift. This kind of thing. A similar thing as perceived by people who aren't part of the community. This is the funny thing. That's sort of the spiritual community, especially that which you could call New Age. It's strange. There's people out there who do channeling. That's one of those weird ones. Loving it. Especially. So, one in particular, I'm familiar, that's had some sort of cultural presence out there, is a woman named Jay-Z Knight, who channels a being called Ramtha. She's been out there. There's a great appearance I enjoy of her on the Merv Griffin show. It's out there on YouTube if you want to check it out. And there's this strange thing that happens where people who channel all seem to have this bizarre Mediterranean accent. And, well, that's the thing. Well, hey, we all have accents, just FYI. It's this is one of those little things I picked up over the years, is that in broadcasting they train people to have the Great Lakes accent, because that's the one that sounds the most neutral and kind of the nicest on TV. Like Canadian news anchors like Peter Jennings, John Roberts. I'm from the Great Lakes area. I spent a year in California when I was in grade 6. In Canada, you would call it grade 6, not 6th grade. And they said, hey, you sound like a newscaster. And it's like, they were right. That's exactly what I sounded like. But anyway, so when that spirit energy comes through, it has an accent that sounds like this. So it will. Oh, buddy, it's wonderful to do this and never call. Yes. So this is the spirit. Part of me voice. This is the spirit demonstrating its accent with its being. It is being expressed through my throat, my voice box. This is the thing that happens to me. I do actually have a means of bringing it about, inviting it in. And that is one of the things you will see in some channelers. In particular, you see it with Jay-Z Knight channeling Ramtha. Early Esther Hicks channeling Abraham. You hear her with her spiritual accent. And she lost it over the years. It happens when you move to a new country. Oh, buddy. Oh, I kid. So anyway. Wonderful. One of the gifts I have, and this is one thing that is different from, you see channelers who receive messages from spirit. You may notice that they're often kind of vague. There's a quality I've noticed, and it's consistent with my experience, in that when it comes through like that, it is vague. It is hints. Spirit is trying to nudge you, but it's not going to give away the answers to the test. So, however, what I've got is an emotional, intuitive. It's an intelligence, but what it is a physical. I call it a being, but it's the implant, the thing that happened to me that came in. Well, it has feelings. I feel it. Holy heck. But one of my gifts is to feel what this thing feels. And it feels based on what I've going on, what's going on in my mind, and what I'm directing my attention at. And this is where it gets into, you could call it the conceptual, Misty area. And that, well, jeez. Oh, shit. It's foggy over there. I don't know what's in there. There's something over there. I don't know what it is, but shit, there's fog over there. Well, some of us are not disposed to go just say, well, what's over there? I'm going to go walk in that fog. Be over there. I'm the kind of person who can do that. There are times of my spiritual awakening where I kind of leaned into it in ways that most people don't. It's like most people when don't feel like they're going crazy, don't say, let's go with that. I'll allow it. Yeah, I'll allow it. Buddy, it's awful. Oh, buddy, you're funny. If you've ever seen the show Community, I was thinking the scene where Anthony Michael Hall, like the character who comes in and bullies Jeff Winger while he's writing a test. He complains to the teacher, and the teacher says, I'll allow it. Honestly, sometimes I get like that, where it's just, this is so crazy. Fine. Crazy is going to be crazy again. But it's because of that I've learned stuff. The other part is well, you have to pick up the pieces when crazy, holy heck, knocks the house of cards down. Yeah, so it's like that. Spiritual tests. What it is that I feel the divine feminine inside me. I feel what she feels in response to how I'm doing. So gentlemen, if you have ever been married, you should know what that's like. I hope you do. Or I hope you've done so well that you haven't had to experience what happens when the performance in the test isn't quite up to standard. It's less than ideal. Not quite eating satisfactory. Guys, you probably know what that's like. And if you don't know what that's like, well, you should. Oh, love doesn't come free. You gotta earn it. Good lesson learned, guys. You have to earn the love of the divine feminine. She likes it when things are done well. Oh, God. She likes a man who knows what to do. So the way it works in terms of my intelligence, and in a sense, intelligence I experience and what I do in my life and the things I can tell people. I think about things. There are a few rare cases where I do just get out and told something, and usually the context is I get told it kind of to fuck with me. And it's usually I get told something that I now have to integrate into my current understanding, and my response is like, what? Okay. Oh God, I got stories. There's stuff I can tell about the stuff that happened to me. the particular ways in which I have been effed. So, I can't do that just yet because it's not an effective way to communicate with people. I took a class in university called Argumentation Theory, and one of the features, components of that theory, is that for an argument to be effective in persuading someone, it has to be consistent. Its premises and conclusion, its premises ultimately, have to be consistent with what that person already believes. The prof called it the epistemic state was his term for it. I like that one. It's just, here's what you know about the world. And so, as we tell stories, this is like Michael Shermer's belief-dependent reality. We have stories, we have narratives we use to make sense of things. So, holy heck. I really had to just kind of come out with this because it's not good for me to try to keep a lid on my emotions. Holy heck. And there's, yeah, it's fine. So, when I'm trying to think of the best entry point on this. When I see stuff happen, and I think about it, try to make sense of it. Just given my picture of the world. I've gone through a lot. There's a whole evolution of the different beliefs I've had about my experience. And I will be explaining this and sharing this in content to come, because I really have to put stuff in context. It's the only way I'm going to be able to explain the stuff that I want to explain is by telling a whole bunch of stuff first, because that's the path that got me to understanding what I can understand. So there's a bunch of stuff I've learned that's not part of the academic mainstream, but it's out there, and it's really heady stuff by intellectuals who are kind of, in a couple cases, intellectuals who are head and shoulders above everybody else, and nobody could get what they were talking about. Yeah, in particular, I mean Marshall McLuhan and Ken Wilber. I got into those guys huge, and a couple other things. So, anyway, one of the things you get with McLuhan especially is media awareness. And that's not, it's a media awareness not in the sense that evolved after he sort of introduced the idea of media awareness in the sense that he meant. He's the one who came up with the phrase, the medium is the message, and the term global village to describe the way we're all wired up through electronic communication. So, the world, clearly the world, for those of us who've been around long enough to remember what it was like, clearly the world is a different place when you've got the internet and cell phones in it. And now smartphones, which is just little computers in your hands. So this is one of the things McLuhan was talking about, is that he, based on his knowledge of history, sort of assembled a way, sort of a set of ways, kind of a style of looking at media and thinking about it. And the way he wrote was challenging, but it was kind of designed to shock the reader into trying to have to comprehend it. And so, most people, you have an epiphany. That's the way it was for me, and I think that's the way you need to do it. Because it's like you're going around and around, and it's just, what is this about? He's telling me stuff, but I don't know what point he's trying to make quite. Because it feels like it's something, but it's not quite a point. But that's why it comes in an epiphany. And so, the epiphany is the thing that shocks you out of seeing the world simply mentally, like as a mental construct. And that's what you use to make sense of things. It's like perceiving with belief. There's a David Bowie songs where he quicksand. Sinking in the quicksand of my thoughts. Don't perceive with belief. Oh God, knowledge comes with depth from this. Oh, wise man, David. Oh, I do enjoy it. I give a voice too. Oh my. So anyway, McLuhan. I read Essential McLuhan back when I was 20, and I did that before I went to university. That's why when I went to university and I heard what they were teaching in cultural studies, oh dear, I was like, okay, I'm hearing your arguments there. I'll consider it in the context of what I know, what I was reading, that prompted me to come to university because there was this program in communication studies where presumably you could study media and their effects, which is why I went there, originally with the intention of pursuing a career in academia. And then I took cultural studies, and I noticed, and then I had taken the cultural studies and linguistic streams. There were 4 options. And so there's a whole topic in and of itself back then, but that's about that. But I kind of learned the nature of academia. Oh man, this is starting to feel not good or weird. Anyway, so I have a little bit of different perspective on our expert class than most of the people out there who consume media now, and especially the people out there in the world, those few of us who've, gotten into the social media thing, cell phones, Facebook, and Twitter, YouTube. You gotta have your LinkedIn profile updated. You don't want to look like you're falling behind. You gotta keep up. You don't want to have that gap in your experience. Oh, hey. Anyway, I gotta wrap this up. Holy heck. But that recent presidential election. Oh. Okay. Oh. I don't feel good about it. Don't feel good about. Oh God. What I'm seeing out there in the media. That's why I've been off social media, because it's kind of making me ill to my stomach right now. Oh, how do you say that? Well, the truth comes out. I hope it does. I'm rooting for truth. I'm the kind of person who's just not a partisan. I just root for truth. I would love to see the truth comes out, because I would hate to see a country where it turns out that the lesson you can learn is if you lie reasonably well enough, and if you explain away a bunch of individual incidents, it's like, all I have to do to get by in life is I can do something, and as long as I can come up with an excuse for why that isn't what you say it is, then my story stands, because you haven't proven that my story is false. And for that one over there, same thing. And for that one over there, same thing. And for that one over there, same thing. You see? I've got excuses for all those, so you have to believe me. And that's our discourse. So, I don't want to see a world where that kind of behavior wins. Because... See, it's all fun and games when it's your side that gets to get. Or, well, shit. Or if it sure looks like your side is good, and I'm just, hey, a good person, and, well, shit. I just have my beliefs, and I hear what is inconsistent with my beliefs. Especially when my beliefs concern opponents. So I gotta wrap this up now. But anyway, that's what I'm feeling right now, and that's all I have to say about it at the moment. Cheers, and you'll be hearing more from me if you're on my Facebook or on my social media channels.